Let's be honest with each other. You feel stuck, don't you? Like you're just running in place, working harder than ever, but somehow ending up in the exact same spot. And you probably think it's your fault, that you're just not smart enough, or maybe you're just lazy. But what if I told you that you're wrong? You're not failing at all. In fact, you are successfully executing a program. It's an ancient survival script, one that's hardwired deep inside your brain, and it's the very thing engineering your financial stagnation. Right now, we're going to pull back the curtain on that program.
Just read those words for a second. That constant feeling you're chasing, that sense of safety, that need to avoid any kind of uncertainty. It feels like the right thing to do, doesn't it? It feels responsible, but it's a trap. That very instinct, the one that kept our ancestors alive for millennia, is now the invisible chain that's locking you down.
You know, every time you choose the safe job or the stable but low-yield investment, every time you sidestep a calculated risk, you tell yourself you're being rational. But here's the hard truth. You are not in the driver's seat. A primitive, incredibly powerful part of your brain, one that was built for a world that doesn't even exist anymore, is making those calls for you. So what is this trap, really? I mean, before we can even begin to think about getting out of it, we have to see it for what it is. We have to dissect this master illusion that holds the entire thing together. Okay, here's the core of it. The comfort trap isn't some flaw in your design. It was a life-saving feature in your brain's original operating system. But that system was coded for the Stone Age, not the 21st century. And today, that once brilliant feature has become a critical bug, creating this catastrophic mismatch between your biology and the modern world. Look at this. It lays it all out. 10,000 years ago, the strategy on the left, staying put, hoarding every single resource, avoiding risk at all costs, that was the best way to make it to the next day. But now, you apply that exact same logic to our modern economy, and what's the outcome? It's the complete opposite. It's no longer a strategy for survival. It is a guaranteed recipe for stagnation.
And this, right here, perfectly illustrates the huge paradox we're all living in. The very strategy that once ensured you'd see another sunrise now guarantees that you'll be left behind. The thing that feels safe is now the most dangerous move you can possibly make.
But here's the thing. This programming, it isn't just in your head. It's constantly being reinforced by the world around you. And that brings us to the first real layer of this trap, the social forces that keep us all locked in this prison made of expectations. This is an absolutely critical idea. For the vast majority of people, the main thing driving them is not the ambition to get ahead, it's the paralyzing terror of falling behind. It's the fear of slipping down that social ladder. And that fear dictates everything: the school you go to, the job you take, the house you buy. It's like this social contract that you never signed, but you obey its rules every single day.
This table just lays it out so clearly. It's what researchers call a bimodal risk distribution. Now look closely at that middle row. While people with nothing to lose are forced to take desperate gambles, and those with a safety net can make calculated ones, the middle is uniquely trapped in this defensive crouch. Their main strategy isn't about winning, it's about not falling.
And let that sink in for a second, because this is the whole point. That fear of falling transforms your entire financial mindset into one of preservation, not of growth. You're playing defense, constantly building walls to protect what little you have, focused entirely on not losing the status you've worked so hard for.
And this fear, it's not crazy. Just look at the data. The ground beneath the middle class has become a minefield. With bankruptcies, foreclosures, and layoffs all on the rise, that feeling of fragility is actually a pretty sane response to an insane situation. And that real-world pressure, it forces an even deeper, more desperate retreat into that illusion of safety.
Okay, so we've seen the social pressure cooker. Now we're going to go even deeper. We're moving from the outside world into the actual hardware of your brain to find the biological enforcer of all this caution. Let's talk about your brain's cautionary brake.
And listen, this is not a metaphor. There is a physical structure deep inside your brain that acts like a warden in a prison. It's constantly scanning for threats, real or imagined, and its main job is to slam on the brakes on any action it thinks is too risky, and its name is the amygdala.
The number one weapon that this warden uses is a cognitive bias known as loss aversion. It's simple, it's elegant, and it is a devastatingly powerful preference for avoiding a loss over acquiring a gain of the exact same value.
And here is just how powerful that weapon really is.
Research has shown that the psychological sting of losing, say $100, is almost exactly twice as intense as the pleasure you get from finding $100. Your brain is not a balanced scale. It is fundamentally and heavily weighted toward fear.
So how do we know for sure this warden is the cause? Well, here's the definitive proof. Scientists studied these rare cases of individuals who had specific damage to this exact part of the brain. They could still calculate odds and assess risk perfectly rationally, but their loss aversion, that gut-wrenching fear of losing, it was almost completely gone. They were biologically freed, which proves that the amygdala is the source of this powerful brake.
So let's just be crystal clear about this. When you're facing a financial decision that involves any kind of risk and reward, you are not just calmly weighing the pros and cons. You are in a direct conflict with a primitive fear center that is hardwired to scream, no, and veto what your rational mind knows is probably a logical choice.
But, it gets even more complicated than that. Your brain doesn't just have a powerful brake, it also has an accelerator. And frankly, it malfunctions a lot. And that brings us to the chemical software running on your brain's hardware, the dopamine distortion.
Yeah, think of it like this. Your amygdala is that ever-present parent in the car screaming at you to slow down. Dopamine, on the other hand, is the neurotransmitter of reward that's egging you on to just hit the gas. The problem is, this entire system can be easily and catastrophically hijacked.
You see, dopamine is released when you anticipate a reward. But a big win in the stock market or a successful bet can cause a dopamine flood. And this flood doesn't make you smarter, it actively distorts your ability to assess risk, making you feel like you're invincible.
This is exactly how market bubbles are formed and why gamblers go broke. A single win triggers a dopamine hit, which feels incredible. That feeling then makes you overconfident. That impairs your judgment, and that leads you to take even bigger, more foolish risks, all while you're just chasing that next hit. Your own brain chemistry starts to work against you.
So, where does that leave us? We have an ancient survival instinct. We have immense social pressure. We have a hyperactive fear center, and we have volatile brain chemistry. Each one of these pieces is a bar in the cage. So now, let's just step back and see what the full prison looks like.
First, at the very deepest level, millions of years of evolution have programmed you to prioritize immediate safety over any kind of long-term growth.
Then, the society you live in comes along and reinforces this programming by rewarding stability and punishing anyone who deviates, making you terrified of losing your place. And on top of that, the physical structure of your brain, your amygdala, is biologically designed to magnify the pain of any potential loss, which makes you chronically overcautious. And finally, your own brain chemistry. This constant dance between dopamine and fear can hijack your rational mind, swinging you from paralyzing caution one minute to irrational recklessness the next. This is the comfort trap. You see, understanding this system isn't an excuse, it's the key. You cannot escape a prison if you don't even know you're in one. But now, you've seen the architecture. You can see the bars. So the only question left is, now that you know the cage is a cage, are you going to choose to stay inside? The choice is yours.